And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week.
And while we're trying to promote Pennsylvania as an energy giant, able to compete with the nations of the world in energy production because of our God-given trillions of cubic feet of natural gas right beneath our feet, Valerie Arkoosh, a candidate for the Democratic nomination for the Senate, says Pennsylvania should have a fracking ban. Imagine that. Just think about that for a moment and the killer effect it would have on Pennsylvania's economy, on our jobs, on our energy costs, on the costs of our home heating and electric bills, and the ability to make things out of plastic, for example, which the cracker facility in Beaver County is preparing the way for a complete transformation of the economy in Western Pennsylvania because of alternative uses of natural gas. She wants to ban fracking, which, by the way, is the official position of the Democrat Party in Pennsylvania. They passed a resolution to that effect many years ago. It's never been rescinded. And where is their putative standard bearer, Josh Shapiro, on all this? Interestingly, he was Val Arkoosh's running mate back in 2015, lauding what a great mind she had. Does he agree with her on a fracking ban for Pennsylvania? He's taken really fuzzy positions on all of the energy development questions facing the future of Pennsylvania. He says he doesn't really like the way Tom Wolf rolled out Reggie, but he's unwilling to say that he's opposed to Reggie. Where does he truly stand? Because that's a question inquiring minds want to know. And while Josh Shapiro ran for office with Valerie Arkoosh, he didn't really spend that much time in office with her. He was her running mate in 2015. And of course, people asked, Shapiro, are you in fact going to finish your term if we elect you a county commissioner in Montgomery County? Well, days after he was sworn into his second term, he announced he was running for another office, much like he's done this year, only he waited a little bit to officially announce that he's running for governor right after being sworn in as Attorney General earlier this year. So he didn't serve in office with her very long, but he did serve with her. And the question occurs, does he support her position, or will he publicly repudiate this nonsense about a potential ban on fracking in Pennsylvania? And speaking of elections, the question is still out there about what's going to be done about Tom Wolf's illegal vote in last Tuesday's election. And there's a court-ordered, it won't be court-ordered, it's a statutory-ordered recount in the race for the Commonwealth Court because the margin there is less than 0.5%. And again, we're faced with serious questions about what happened last Tuesday. We have to clean up our election system, the process, the rules, and the statutes. We absolutely have to do that because ballot integrity and the integrity of our elections is paramount. People have to trust the results. They have to believe that every vote that was cast was fairly, honestly, legally, and properly cast, and that every vote was then properly counted. Without that assurance, there really aren't any winners. And in economic news, the Dow Jones Industrial Average snuck back up above 36,000 at week's end. We talked about that last week, and Jim Glassman's book, Dow 36,000, you can check that out if you'd like. But all three major indices had a pretty tough week, the first losing week in a while, largely on some pretty devastating news from the Consumer Price Index folks, who told us that in the month of October, a single month, saw the biggest gain in consumer prices in over 30 years. Think about that. That goes back to the days of Bush 1. This is the Biden economy, which has skyrocketing consumer prices, inflation rates going back to what Jimmy Carter used to call the misery index, and with supply chain and distribution chain problems galore, we're now hearing stories that we may not be able to get a turkey for Thanksgiving, and that gifts for Christmas and the holidays may be in jeopardy as well. That is the Biden economy, and we're seeing it show up in the polls as well. ABC tells us that less than 25%, less than 1/4 of the American people think that this Build Back Better stuff is actually going to improve their lives. And NBC of all folks, is telling us additional bad news about the Biden economy. And they have a chart now which suggests that Republicans are favored over Democrats on every single domestic issue, and that inflation is now just a hair below the border security at the southern border, where Republicans have a dominant advantage over Democrats in terms of who the American people think can handle it better. We know that the economy prospers when people are allowed to keep more of what they earn, where economic growth propels all of society and creates prosperity for everyone, and where a rising tide really does lift all boats. And for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.